If you have been on Instagram or Facebook lately, you've seen a lot of pictures of that particular Datsun 620. Maybe that artwork, maybe you've seen more pictures of the actual model. Maybe you've seen pictures of this model times 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or even 100, because a lot of people are gobbling these models up, and for good reason. It's a very good looking model. A white Datsun is always a good thing. A Datsun 620 is a good thing. A Datsun with Hot Wheels in Japanese is a cool thing. Nonetheless, it's a very cool model, and a lot of people are picking it up. But this is one part of an 8 model set, not just this Datsun. And to be honest, there's some real winners here. I think the entire series, with one question, we'll get to that in a little bit. I think it's an excellent series, and it's not all about that Datsun. So first of all, if you can, leave a couple for people to pick up, because it's limited release, and let people get at least one of them. And number two, we should focus on the others. So we're going to start with the artwork. That's the Datsun. You've seen a lot of it, but as you start going through, I'm not one much for artwork because I like to open everything, but at least I can have a record of the artwork here on video, because all of these here in a little bit are going to be opened up and put here on our little turntable for all of us to look at. I know some of you don't open your models, so just allow me to do it for you as we focus on the artwork of all 8 of these models. I don't know which one you think is the best based on the artwork. The artwork's just good no matter what. And there's the last one. So, I am going to have myself a DLM party here for a second. I'm going to pause this. Well, we can start it. And we're going to have ourselves a little DLM party. And we're going to look at all of these models on the turntable. And then we're going to talk about this one for a minute. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, there's no doubt about it, but that Datsun is a really good looking truck. So we'll start with that one. That's the one everyone wants. So not only is it good looking, but this is going to be a good year for the Datsun 620. We've already seen several versions of it in the last 2 years. But not only do we have this one, I don't think we have one in the basic range this year, but that will be resolved because we have this one that's a 9-pack exclusive, and I know we're getting a recolor on that one, and I believe tan, and that should be out very soon. And we're going to see it even more in a couple of other lines. We might even see a premium version, so that's going to be fun to see. So that's the Datsun 620, but there's other models as well. Now, pickup trucks, I think at least here in the United States, we're all fans. Well, you should be a fan of a pickup truck. I did not grow up with pickup trucks. I grew up with station wagons, and being the grandson of a Ford dealer, a lot of Fords. My dad broke away and bought a Honda at one point, and that started my infatuation with Japanese cars, but that's another story for another time. But we had a Ford Ranger at one point in my family, but never grew up in a pickup family. That being said, there's just something about pickups and old trucks especially that have my interest, and I know I'm not alone in that. And I really like what Hot Wheels did with this particular series, because you have old cars, new vehicles, another classic like the Chevy, another new truck like this Toyota Tundra, which also comes in a wheel vary. I'm looking for that one. You have high or lifted trucks like that. You have normal stance trucks. You also have, oh, did you guys notice? Look, I have an error there. That front wheel is not, doesn't have any gold on it at all. Well, that's cool. You have lowered trucks like the Nissan Titan and the Chevy Silverado, which we'll get to in a second. That Titan is nice, and I like that it has tail lights on it. the other Chevy Silverado. And then you have another, just, which I think is my favorite of the line, with all due respect to the Datsun. You even have trucks that sit in a very standard classic stance, like this Ford F-150. And if I'm honest, like I said, I think this is my favorite one. I just like the stance on it. It's a great truck design. I think this camper is new to the model, and we've seen it before. If you remember a couple years ago, there was a chase model, this Walmart exclusive in, I believe, was it the Jukebox series or the Decade series? Anyway, these trucks are the same, but obviously with a little bit different setup in the bed. So there's that Walmart exclusive, and this truck with the camper. The camper is not much to look at. It's just there. There's windows molded into it, but it's not see-through at all. But I like it. And then lastly but not least, there's this one. So here's my issue, and I think we'll finish with this, because here we have all these great trucks, lifted, old, new, lowered, great variety, but I don't know if I'd call this a pickup truck. I'd call it an off-roader, and it's nice, and it's a Bronco, but I don't think we all associate Broncos with trucks or pickup trucks. So I'm not going to make a big complaint on it, but I think when a set of 8, there's a lot of other choices that could have been put in place of the Bronco. So let's look at some of those. One could have been this Chevy C10 that we've seen in the main line, which I like. Be similar to the custom Chevy, but that's an option. You start looking, it's about variety, so maybe a cab over engine like this Chevrolet. Now I know we haven't seen it in a basic version before, but we haven't seen it at all for a long time, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So that could have been an option with a plastic base. Maybe it could have been a model that's been very popular for a long time, like the 62 Chevy. There's my favorite version in black with black wheels, and of course the surfboard in the back. That would have been kind of fun. So that could have been done in place of the Bronco. Maybe we already had a Toyota, but we already have a couple of Fords, so maybe this Toyota, classic Toyota, could have been put in there. Go Japanese still with the ever popular Subaru Brat, which I think would have been a great choice. We could have gone with that one. How about going classic again with the 49 Ford? We saw that in the Zamax series. It's beautiful. It would have been the oldest, I believe, in that set. The oldest truck. This one probably wouldn't have worked because it's so similar, but the F-250 that we saw in the Retro Entertainment last year, maybe that one. I like that version from Close Encounters. Why not the Chevy Silverado? We've seen it a lot, it's used a lot, but it would have been great in that series. And I like that version. Or we could have gone with the lifted version of the Silverado. Could have seen that in the basic version with a plastic base, but you know, that's alright. Maybe we could have gone with that Ford theme, and maybe this one is a little too similar, but the Texas Drive 'em with a plastic base I think would have been something that people would have liked to gobble up. And I think when you compare it to the Bronco, well, I don't know, I just think that the Texas Drive 'em wins that, but then again most of these trucks do. Then we could have gone with something that we've never seen in a basic type version, which is the Dodge Power Wagon. That one could use a plastic base, so we could see that in the main line at some point. And if we wanted to get super macho, instead of the Dodge Power Wagon, we could go with the Macho Power Wagon, which we were supposed to see, I believe, in the Real Rider series, but we didn't see it anymore. So I don't know what the status is with this particular model, but that one would look good as well with something with a new livery on it. And then last, which I think would have been a great choice, is one of my favorite trucks, and something that would have been very different and would have been a nice variety, is the Studebaker Champ. Because this one is in a kind of a racing version and so good looking. I think this was kind of a passion project by one of the Hot Wheels designers, if I remember correctly. We just haven't seen it as much. We saw it last year in a flame version, but it might have been really nice in this series. So I think there were some options to take the place of this Bronco, but that's my only complaint. So instead of showing the Bronco, we'll go back to the Datsun again. So I love this series. I think it was a great choice. I know we see these every couple of months, these special series. We've seen cartoon versions like Spider-Man and Tom and Jerry. Those are fine, and I'm sure there's people that like them, but I love these. We've seen a Porsche version. Obviously the trucks, we got BMW coming. I'm sure they have a lot more up their sleeve. Matchbox is jumping into the game with a Jeep series coming out soon. So what would we like to see next? Well, pickups was great. I think vans might be an option, but I think if we're going to go next, there's a famous Datsun wagon, I think, but I think wagons is the next way to go. I would love to see an 8-car wagon series, and if I'm guessing, I bet that they've already started thinking about something like that too, because wagons are just way too cool. So anyway, that's the truck series. If there's one you want to see more close up, I'll take some pictures and put it on the blog here in the next few days as well. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.